So with all the new content we've gotten this week in MLB The Show 21, this is what my God squad looks like right now. And if you take a look at it, you'll see there are a ton of really good players that came out of all of this new stuff this week. One thing I've been thinking about today is this. Is Chipper Jones in the live series collection really worth it? Normally I push for people to get live series collections done, even if you're no money spent, just because the players you get out of it are the best for you in the game. And even if it takes a while for you to get, in a lot of subs, getting some of the best players in the game, and even by the time the end game rolls around, you'll be able to use these players on your squad. And don't get me wrong, that still holds. But with all the new players and content we got this week, maybe your stubs will be better off being spent elsewhere. We're going to take a deep dive into it. We're going to really try to debate whether Chipper Jones and live series collections are actually worth it, all the implications about the new content we got this week, and I'll give you guys a good suggestion on if you really should be going for Chipper Jones, or maybe if you want to pass on him. Let's get into it. YouTube, what is going on? We are back with another video here, and before I get into it, I want to quickly thank you all for stopping by the channel here. In case you have not tossed a sub down below, make sure you do. We're uploading basically daily MLB The Show videos to help you all get better at the game. Whether you're a no money spent player looking for cheap budget guys to add to your squad, whether you're someone who is trying to get better in gameplay, I have a video on the channel for you. And feel free to take a look around the channel, see if there's anything else you'd want to watch. And also, I do stream on Twitch, so if you have any questions you want to ask me about the live series collections, or if in general you want to ask me questions about MLB The Show, come swing by and come hang out with us. I'm going to be playing with a lot of new cards we got this week in ranked seasons and all of that, so if you want to come hang out, if you check out the Twitch. But without keeping you any longer, let's get right into this little debate. So there are a few aspects I want to talk about. I want to talk about the players themselves. I want to really debate if these players are really worth it on their own, or talk about the entire cost of the live series collections. And finally, we're going to go into the specific scenarios and go through if it's really worth going for Mr. Chipper Jones. So if you look at my God squad again here, you'll see there aren't many players on this team that are even from the collections. For a while in this game, you had a fair amount of the collection awards on your team, whether it was like Tom Glavine, who was one of the only super good starters from there, or live series Jacob deGrom in your rotation. So, you know, right now we're at a point in this game with all this new all-star content that some of these best players in the game are starting to get some really good competition, and normally that's not always the case. At this point in the year, in years past, we had some solid players that, you know, would mix up the teams, but I think the collection awards that we were earning were undoubtedly still the best players at that position. For example, last year, we played MLB 20, you know, people had that 99 Mickey Mantle in their team all year. And even at this point in the year, he was kind of undoubtedly the best outfielder. Also, we had that Craig Biggio card, who did have competition at second base, but he was a valuable catcher option, kind of like Soriano is at second base right now. But Biggio kind of started to get outclassed at this point. We started to get more players who had more power. Players like that Home Run Derby, Robinson Cano. And that Gary Sheffield card was only being used as a third baseman at that point, but, you know, his defense wasn't great. The bat he brought was really good though, and he was still being used in a lot of people's lineup. But at this point in the year, for the Chipper Jones collection, I think that competition is a lot closer than many of us think. Looking at Chipper Jones here, I think he's still undoubtedly the best third baseman, but you can get a very close option by buying this Vladimir Guerrero Jr. All-Star Game card for about 170K. And over time, I mean, he may go up a little bit once the pack drops and it's not available in the market anymore. But overall, this is still cheaper than getting Chipper Jones. You're not going to be paying 1 million stubs for this card, I don't think. And eventually, it may get to a point where they start releasing that Derby pack and say Conquest maps. Kind of like that 42 series pack. So, like, you'll be getting a player like this at some point later in the year for a fraction of Chipper Jones' price. And Alfonso Soriano, I still think is the best second baseman in the game for the power and the defense he brings. But you know, the contact is a little bit on the lower end of the spectrum. Not everyone is the biggest fan of Soriano's swing. They have a tough time turning on inside stuff with him. So some people like 99 Jackie, who costs only about 100K right now because those players dip down in price so hard. If you did your TA1, is a very good second base option for Again, a fraction the cost of Soriano. But also you have other guys like Trey Turner who can play at second base. You have good primary second basemen like Albies, Cronenworth, and Frazier. That Marcus Semien as well. And even Ryan Sandberg you get for collecting the All-Star cards has power like Soriano. And then finally, David Ortiz, I think, you know, on paper is the best first baseman still. I mean, 100 plus hitting attributes everywhere. But you know, you look at this Vlad honestly may be better than that Poppy. I mean, think about how cheap he is, but he also has better defense than Ortiz. And he'll likely play well at first. You have Prince Fielder, who you get for collecting your Home Run Derby and All-Star cards. And again, he's got 125 power versus both sides. And again, better fielding. And you even have like the free-to-earn options like Matt Olson, who are very close to that David Ortiz, Jim Thome, and Pete Alonso. You get from buying on the market for about 100K. Might actually be better than David Ortiz again. And you just see the competition at each position is kind of growing. This last week of content is kind of game-changing because we just got flooded with all high 90 overall players. And now we have a lot of competition at all the positions that those collection awards play at. And if you don't have Chipper and the other live series collection award, you're probably fine at this point. You don't have to worry. You can have just as good of a team as someone who got all the collections done by just completely skipping out on those. And you know, there are other live series players that you get in your collection, which are always a benefit. There's no harm in having them. You know, you buy Mike Trout to get Chipper Jones, and he's still on the God squad. He really does play like one of the best, if not the best, center fielder in the game. But that's just at this point in the game. When you get another Mike Trout, that card will likely be the best center fielder. But we still have guys like Griffey, Mays, and Garrett, Berto Clemente. We're going to be beast outfielders, and it's just going to be absolute chaos in the outfield. And you know that, like I was mentioning with that Tom Glavine, he's a good starter. I enjoy this card. But again, there's so many good free-to-earn pitchers, like Jacob deGrom, Edward Cabrera, Cliff Lee, and we're going to get even more really good free-to-earn pitchers as the year goes on. Or if you really want to buy some of the better pitchers in the game, like Leiter and Paxton, you're paying sub 100K for that. Which again, that Mets collection does cost a good bit because you gotta buy deGrom. And yes, you could use deGrom if you don't have the 99 deGrom yet. But that's, again, right around the same price. And I personally feel that Leiter and Paxton are better than that. And yes, there are some solid live series relievers like that Goose Gossage here, the Eric Gagne, Trevor Hoffman, John Franco. Like, they aren't bad relievers, but again, at this point in the game, we have so many players, a lot of TA3 relievers. Rob Dibble, one of the better relievers in the game, is basically a must-buy at 38K. You don't need the collection rewards from Mariano Rivera, and you know, you got guys like Britton who are in your daily moments, Lee Smith, who's a boss. Like, there's a lot of competition in everyone's God squads right now, where you don't need those live series players as much as you would think. And normally this happens way later on in the year, at least that's what I feel. But right now, they got outclassed like that. Like, it was like a Thanos snap. They were like, nope, these guys are done. Give us the even better players at this point, which I think is great for the game. If you're really someone who's hopping on, trying to build the best God squad right away, this may not be worth spending your stubs for those live series collections, at least as of right now, just because of how expensive it is. If you really want to get a good squad quicker, you're better off just buying the players likely just off the market. So like, remember, in terms of the value of the collection, according to the show zone, you're going to be paying about 1 million stubs. A lot of subs to sink in. You'll likely be building that up for a while. And you just think about the players you're getting, like Chipper Jones, Soriano, Poppy. Like, they're great. Very great card. But are they really worth 1 million subs if you're only going to be using a few cards? You know, if you're using like only 4 cards in the live series collection, you're paying, say, like 200 to 300,000 stubs for each singular player, which you don't really need to do. There are a lot of free to earn studs in Team Affinity. These players in the Home Run Derby and All-Star packs are really good. You just scoop them up on the market. Half that price, and that's just me rounding a number off in my head. And other collections may be worth sinking your stubs into over this collection. Guys like your Mariano Rivera collection. The main reason this will be worth it is because they're going to keep on adding on to this collection. They've already told us that they were going to add more to these type of collections. So you getting guys for Mariano Rivera is very beneficial because you could keep on building it up throughout the year. They will likely have some very good players in this. Don't be surprised if at one point you get like a Hank Aaron or Clemente type player who is available in these big collections that you have to build up over the entire year. If you're someone who hasn't done the live series collections, may be beneficial. Just buy some of the cheap flashbacks and legends and build this up that way instead of going for those live series players. So overall, is Chipper Jones really worth the stub? I think it's definitely up for debate. I mean, I'll likely find a way to use Chipper all year just because I really do enjoy this card. I mean, I don't think I've ever hit this good with a collection award ever. And to me, if you are someone who is just hopping on the game for the first time, if you start the game up later, you don't have much live series collection progress done, I would likely suggest to you guys to build up a God Squad like this, go through Team Affinity 3, maybe buy some of the Home Run Derby, All-Star players, anything on the market to build up the Shohei collection, or just in general, any specific players you may want to add to your team, or just buy some of the players that, you know, I used to use in the God Squad, like Dominguez here, David Justice, who's a great outfielder, your James Paxtons and Al Leiters. Like, buy those guys on the market that you can use on the team. That may be more beneficial to just getting a God Squad out there at that less stub price instead of, you know, paying 1 million stubs just for 3 players. But if you're someone who has already started them, if you're someone who plays MLB The Show a lot, if you've been playing all year, if you're really enjoying the game, you already have a lot of the players towards Chipper, or you just have a lot of players in general, it's probably good to keep on working on Chipper. Again, there's no harm in getting the flashbacks and legends for that collection. There'll likely be good players there at some point. But, you know, maybe you want to take a step back and not rush it as much and try to get some of these players like the Derby and All-Star Game players on your team. That's because at this point in the game, they're really good. So if you were in that position, if you were to ask me, I would still go for Chipper Jones. But again, at the end of the day, it is up to you guys. Do you think Chipper Jones is worth it? I would love to hear your comments down below. I think it's an interesting debate. Obviously, I'm someone who's very passionate about MLB The Show, and I will always be doing my live series collection, and I'll be trying to get as much stuff as possible. But, you know, maybe for you guys who don't play the game as much as me, maybe you only have limited time to play each day. Maybe you can't beat the BR program, get World Series, get those bosses right away and sell for stubs. And maybe you're not building up stubs as easily as me. And if you do have less stubs to work with, you may want to avoid this collection. Just build a God Squad throughout the other ways of playing the game instead of using your stubs by doing that. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But in general, I appreciate you guys sitting and watching this. I think it was an interesting conversation. And if you are no money spent or not, this might be something you want to think about if you haven't already. If you're just hopping on the game, it may be worth skipping out on Chipper Jones and coming back to it down the road. Maybe those live series players get cheaper down the road, and maybe it'll become a cakewalk one day. But that'll be it for this video. I appreciate you all watching. I enjoyed this. And we'll be back at it again with another video and streams throughout the week. Have a great day, guys. Deuces.